And that is launched out to deep left field. Big fly for Mike Browne, 1-0 Halos. Ground ball to second base, Rengifo falls down, picks it up, fires the first. The Angels have no hit. The Seattle Mariners. That is drilled out to left field. The Angels are going to have a 1-0 lead. Anthony Rendon with a big fly, his third.
Hey guys, I'm Alex Curry.
This is Joe Adele here with the Los Angeles Angels. Brandon Marsh.
This is Chris Rodriguez.
And you're listening to the All Angels Podcast.
And welcome to another edition of the All Angels Podcast. I am, of course, Daniel Garcia, and I am joined with Mike Browne from the Big League Chewing Podcast. He's back. He was here opening day, and now he makes his return. Mike, how you doing?
Hey, Daniel. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well.
Always a good time to have you on. We're pretty much a month into the season, so I figured let's have a good time to have you back and kind of not only where the Angels are at, but let's kind of talk about, we're going to end up kind of talking about where the whole MLB is at this point. So, obviously, the Twin Series, a lot of people were looking forward to it, having a tough series in Kansas City, get a day off, come home cooking, sleep in your own bed. Some of the roster moves that were made before this game, some of them we kind of knew that was going to happen. It seemed like right after the Kansas City series, they optioned Jake Merrifield to the alternative site. And then right before the game, they recalled Luis Rengifo and Scott Schevler and the DFA designated John Jay for assignment. Any of those moves kind of stand out to you, or were you kind of surprised about one thing or another?
Yeah, I think they tried the Jack Mayfield experiment for about 2 days or about a day and a half, and then he was kind of quickly optioned back. And the same thing for John Jay. It looks like they DFA'd him completely. So they're bringing up Schebler, obviously. They brought up Rengifo at this point. So yeah, and the whole kind of Luis Rojas thing, I think he'll probably still get some more at bats, but maybe not like in a starting role much more. It looks like they're more comfortable with Rengifo maybe starting over at third base for now. So yeah, until Rendon comes back, I think I probably prefer Rengifo there with maybe giving Rojas like a Sunday afternoon or like an afternoon start or something like that. But yeah, the Mayfield thing didn't surprise me. I mean, but then again, he barely had a cup of coffee, so it's hard to say. But you could tell that those last two games in Kansas City, I think it was the last two games in KC where they didn't have Rendon, they didn't have all the depth pieces. And they had twice. Yeah, they had to call these guys up, and they were like, those last two games didn't go well. These guys didn't really perform, so they made these roster moves pretty quickly. So
yeah, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit with the Rojas. He is a great story. He is a local kid. A lot of people are rooting for him because he did really well in Salt Lake. And so you kind of hope that translated over. He got off to like a 1-19 start. How long would you feel comfortable him being out there? I mean, like I said, everyone's rooting for him. Everyone likes to see a local kid like that perform. But at a certain point, you kind of have to put someone like a Luis Rengifo out there who has had that experience.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, to make a comparison, you got a guy like Barreto who's now on the Angels, but when he was with the A's, he just never got the playing time. He was like a top prospect, but he just never got the playing time. And like with Rojas, this team wants to be competitive and they want to win. And I think Perry is going to have a pretty quick hand in terms of like changing over the roster. I mean, we saw this with the bullpen, right? Obviously, coming out of spring training, Perry was like, this isn't going to cut it. And he went and signed Cishek and Watson. So I think there's going to be a short leash with Rojas. But you could see him in that role where as I was saying, where he comes in, he plays like a Sunday afternoon, or he plays like on an afternoon getaway day or something like that, but he's not going to I don't think he's going to get regular starts. I mean, I would like to see it, but at the same time, I don't think this team can afford to kind of make those kind of, to go through that process even.
Yeah, I mean, because like you said, at the end of the day, they're trying to win games. It isn't a rebuilding stage. You can't afford to have a guy like that take his time to get acclimated. What I want to see from him, Rojas, is that once the minor league season starts, him go back down, and maybe he does catch on fire in Salt Lake, and then bring him back up, June, July, if there's a need, and maybe that kind of confidence, momentum will kind of roll over into playing for the Angels. I think. Right now, he needs to get that kind of confidence back and know that he can do it. So maybe that's something that we see once the Salt Lake Bees start at the beginning of May. So let's get to the game. Like I mentioned, some roster moves were made. and the return of Justin Upton, and he ended up having a great day. But before we get to that, Andrew Heaney was on the mound. Everything was all square at 0-0 until the fourth inning when Walsh did this.
Roll toward the hole, into right center field. The Angels with a couple on the scoreboard, and Jared Walsh gets it done.
And Walsh continues to stay on fire. A guy, again, that we kind of talked about in opening day, that if he is that next guy to produce for you for the Angels after Trout, after Rendon, after Ohtani, and even right now, after, he could be, might be next up for Upton. But, if he is a guy that can continue to produce, he is only going to, make this lineup even better. It extends it even longer. Now you can hit Albert 7th or 8th, and it doesn't matter because you have all those guys. So again, that was in the fourth inning. Andrew Heaney, like I said earlier, was on the mound. Was going pretty good, got a lot of defensive help, got a lot of double plays turned behind him, which was good to see. The ground ball was working. He ended up going into the sixth inning, getting into a little bit of trouble. He goes 5 1/3, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. Like I mentioned, he gets pulled in the 6th with 2 guys on. Relievers come in, gives up a double. Those 2 guys come in. It is now tied. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, those runs are now on Andrew. Do you like that rule where granted he left with guys on base, but he wasn't one that gave up that RBI hit? Do you like that rule of the runners getting charged to the starting pitcher who just left, or you think they should be charged to the bullpen arm that gave it up?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I don't like it being charged to the starting pitcher that had just left the game. I don't like that because I feel like Heaney pitched well enough to kind of to deserve better than that.
Right.
But at the same time, it is kind of unfair to have the run go to the inherited runners come in to go to the reliever coming in. But yeah, I just think that Heaney at the end of the day, if you look at his box score, gave up 2 runs, but his day definitely looked better than that. And his past 2 starts, he's actually been better. I think that first start was pretty bad. Actually, he started off pretty well, I think, first couple innings, and then he kind of got into some trouble. But his last 2 starts, he's been good. So I think it's looking up for him. But I think we know it can be kind of an up and down ride with Heaney. So
yeah, and he made that adjustment in Toronto or in Florida against Toronto, going over to, I believe, the first base side of the rubber, opposed to he was more in the middle. And he's done it the last 2 starts, and it's like you mentioned, it seems to have really been working from the last 2 starts. So hopefully that's something, a small, tweak that he can make to continue his, he's not, I'm not gonna say dominance, but being reliable and being a solid number 2, number 3 type of pitcher for the Angels. And again, he's one of those guys where I feel he's going to play a big part in how good this rotation is this year. Behind Bundy, Cobb's done really well. Jose Quintana, I think, has just had some bad luck. I talked about last podcast when they were in Florida to play Toronto. If he gets that double play call where it looks like obviously he's sliding out of the base path and he breaks it up, but now there's no outs and there's just kind of confusion everywhere. If he gets that double play, he's out of that 3rd inning without a single run. But now, because of the weird call, no one's out. There's 2 errors on one play, and now it kind of snowballs, and he ends up giving up like 4 or 5 runs in that one inning where technically he probably should have been out of it. So that's something for him to look ahead for him to do, Jose. But Andrew has definitely been able to help himself with that little tweak moving to that side of the rubber. So the Twins end up getting a 3rd run in the 6th. So they're up 3-2 at the top of the 6th, but it didn't last long because in the bottom of the 6th inning, Mike Trout comes up.
Mike bouncing ball through that, drawn in infield, hits a base hit. Fletcher scores. Ohtani to the plate with the slide in there. Mike Trout again.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
So Mike Trout again, coming up clutch at the bottom of that inning. Now the Angels are up by a run. It's 4-3. You're feeling a little more confident now. Now you realize it's going to be a bullpen game. And truthfully, I think compared to some other seasons, I have more confidence in this bullpen right now than I did maybe, last year or 2 years ago. How do you feel when it comes to like those quote unquote bullpen games.
Yeah, no, I'm there with you. I definitely feel a lot more confident. I think Perry's done actually a pretty good job at the end of the day, bringing in a guy like Sluggers. I know Sluggers actually, he gave up a run in that game, but he's been really good. Myers, again, has been really good, kind of building off of what he did last season. I think Iglesias has gotten roughed up a couple times, but other than that, his stuff is there, and I think he'll be fine. Cishek, it seems like Madden has a preference for Cishek for going to him pretty often, and he's been good. And then Alex Claudio, of course, another new arm in there who's kind of a guy that you can throw in, day after day after day to get some outs. So yeah, it's definitely a new look bullpen, and it's crazy to think of the changes. Definitely feel a lot better.
And then too, Felix Pena was rumored to make his appearance at some point this weekend. Obviously, it didn't happen. But he's another guy that you can see being brought up, within days. And he's another reliable arm that Madden really turned to last year in certain like high leverage situations. And you would think he would be doing the same thing this year. Seventh inning, guys on, and he's a guy also who can give you more than one inning. He can go 2 or 3 innings if need be. So again, another weapon for Joe to use coming out of the bullpen. So that was a 6th inning. Angels up by 1. It's, like I said, still a close game, so you're not too sure what's going to happen. And the 7th inning was pretty crazy, and it all got started off with this.
But Fletcher, runner is on the move. What a beautiful hit and run! You go ahead and pull that infield in. I am Fletch.
So Fletcher with an RBI single, and he does that so well where it just looks like he's reaching for the ball just to make some kind of contact, and he ends up. I always mention it to my wife or my friends or anything. And it looks like just like a little wedge shot, like because I'm a golfer, so it looks like it's up in the air and it dives perfectly right between the outfield and the infield, and it just seems like he comes up in that situation so much, and he delivers so much as well.
Yeah, I mean, he loves that kind of up in the zone fastball where he just kind of dunks it over to right field, like you were saying, like a wedge shot. I was just laughing at Sutton's call. I love how Sutton's been over the last, since he's joined the kind of the booth there. Right. And yeah, the whole like I am Fletch thing. Like he has these like quick little like liners that are like that are really good. But yeah, Fletcher is as reliable as they come. He's kind of been off to a bit of a slow start. I think he's batting like 237. Right. But he seems to, but I don't know. It seems like he's been better than that because he's been getting these kind of clutch hits so far. So
I think that's what it is. Like I'll have to go back and look, but I would love to know his average with runners in scoring position, because I just feel like that it would be so much higher, runners in scoring position than it is probably his regular batting average, because there's the Toronto series, there's this game. There's always seems like a game where there's a guy on second, guy on third, and he just needs to get the ball in play, easy single, slow, soft contact kind of single, and someone scores. It always seems like when that situation arises, he always delivers, and that's Fletch. I mean, that's the guy that everyone has grown to love, and me included. So that's how the 7th inning started. A couple batters later, it got totally blown up.
Knight, here's a pitch, and there's a ball blasted out into left field. It is out of here. He did bust the game wide open. It's a grand slam, and now it's 9-3 Angels.
Yeah, I took Terry Smith's call right there, getting busted wide open. But Upton, huge grand slam. What a way to come back. Like we mentioned earlier, he was scratched in the last 2 games in Kansas City with back stiffness. Everyone was worried just because it was one of those things where it's like, oh, when is he going to be put on the IL? Like he got scratched. Like everyone was waiting for him to put on the IL. But again, that day off helped. Comes back, has a great game, grand slam. The place was absolutely nuts. But again, if this guy can continue his hot streak of power numbers, this lineup is dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to see what a healthy season will get. Will get us out of Justin Upton. He is a little older now, obviously, so you're not expecting what he used to produce when he was a bit younger. But at the same time, I mean, if he can hit a grand slam every once in a while, or get on base. I remember I think it was the first game of the season, he had a really good at bat against the White Sox, where I think he took a walk, and then the inning kind of opened up after that. And he does seem a lot more patient. He seems a lot more selective. I mean, that was like a hanging breaking ball that he really just destroyed. I think I think he doesn't look as bad at the plate as he used to. There's a lot of at bats with Upton where I'm like, oh man, he just looks horrible at that at bat. But he's a lot more patient. I think he's more selective with his pitches, and he's hitting balls really hard. So
yeah, and you mentioned it was a hanging breaking ball, and to me it was like when Upton is right, and I don't care how old he is, when he's on, if you make a mistake like that, he will put it over the fence. The Upton's when he's not healthy or he's like pressing too much, he has a mistake and he just gets underneath it and pops up, or he just doesn't feel comfortable with what he's seeing and maybe freezes up and gets called for a strike. But when he's on and you make a mistake like that, he's still capable to turn on it and do what he did there and just absolutely killed the ball. And by the way, the Twins uniforms, those baby blues, those are nice. I like those. I love those.
They are slick. They are really nice. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of baby blues in general. Yeah. So but the Twins ones are nice. I like the script on there. So
yeah, we walked into the ballpark. I'm like, okay, all right, this is cool. I like the matchup. And this was also too talking about uniforms for a little bit. This has been the first game with the Reds busted out for the Angels, and we've always talked in seasons past on this podcast about how often the Angels go to him and how much they kind of seem to go to him too much, to a point where it's like that doesn't even seem like the alternate. It always seems like a primary, because it always seems like if there's like a 4-game road trip, there's like 2 of the games are probably going to be the Reds, and then if
the Red Tops,
if there's a 3-game home, there's probably 2 of them are probably going to be the Red Tops. So it was good to see like the solid grays, the solid whites, and the red kind of splashing from here and there. So, and with the 42 with the Jackie on the back was awesome as well. So a little bit of uniform talk. But another guy we talked about came up right after Upton and wouldn't be outdone.
That one down the line toward the corner. It goes! Gone! Oh, Walshy, you made it 10!
And Jared Walsh again with another home run to add on to his RBIs he had earlier in the game. Again, this guy, if he can produce like this, you can kind of see it too, because he's playing right field, a position that he hasn't played, really at all since his minor league days, like early minor league days. So they're just trying to find a way to find a spot for him in that lineup, because he's meaning that much to the Angels right now. And just Walsh is unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, you see that pitch that he hit. I think it was like a 70-mile-an-hour breaking ball. So not only is he hitting the fastball really hard, as he has for a lot of his homers, I think have been on fastballs, but he crushed that breaking pitch as well, and he just got it inside the foul line there. So yeah, he's really on top of his game right now. I feel like that was probably one of my biggest kind of question marks heading into the season, was that could he extend his really hot September into 2021, and he's done that so far really well. So it's a blessing, because with Rendon out and Fowler and a lot of these starters kind of missing some time, Upton missed a day or two or a game or two, having him there is really going to lengthen the lineup and make a huge difference.
Oh yeah, I think and even too, it just seemed different when Upton was in this time through. Again, missing 2 games before this. Now Pujols isn't batting like 4th or 5th. Now you can afford to put him down. And not saying that Pujols can't do it from time to time, but it's just, if you're going to bat him in that situation, you're expecting kind of production, every time. And I don't think Albert has that in him anymore. But Walsh and can be that kind of protector that Rendon was for Trout, and same thing with Upton when they bat Upton behind him too. When these guys are on, I don't know who you could decide to pitch, because you already know Trout can be in a slump, but he's going to get that respect no matter what. So so that ends the 7th, huge 7th inning. That's 6 runs in the 7th, and that would pretty much be it. Angels win 10-3 in the season opener. I guess I don't know if you want to qualify that as a sweep or what in the 1-game series. But another thing that was kind of interesting during the game was what was his name? Came in to pitch. We had a position pitcher. Why am I forgetting his name? His nickname is the Turtle. El Tortuga.
Astudillo. Williams Astudillo.
Come in throwing that 43, 45 mile per hour heat, and then he was in and he was warming up, and I was like, oh well, whatever, it's a warm up pitch, and then he just lobbing them in there, and some of the balls were hit hard. It's just right at people, and it's funny to see how you would think professional batters would be able to take total advantage of that, and then they're just so not used to it being getting there so slow, and their preload and all that stuff is thrown way off. But that was fun to see. He had a 1-2-3 inning. I was kind of joking, like he might start on Saturday just because.
Yeah, I mean, he had a clean frame, but yeah, you were talking. I mean, and he almost looked like a mini Bartolo up there. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that is very true. But Angels gets the win 10-3. Everything's flying high, everything's going great, and then kind of reality made everyone come crashing down. So this is kind of the event order. So obviously, like we talked on the last podcast, Andrelton Simmons tested positive for COVID, so he did not make the trip to Anaheim. Well, I guess before the game on Friday, there was another positive test, but they said it was someone in the travel party. So it didn't say necessarily it was the team or like a player or a staff member. I think later it came out to be a staff member, and then that was kind of a question that was brought up to the manager of the Twins the night before, or Friday night, about what's this mean going forward, and no one really knew. Well, Saturday comes up, and it's about 30-40 minutes before first pitch. Word comes out that they are postponing the Saturday game because of two other positive tests. I believe they're both players. I guess in a way, the Angels got lucky last year. They didn't have to deal with any of this COVID delay stuff last year. They didn't have any double headers because of it. And it just seemed like maybe that luck ran out a little bit now. And then obviously down the line, they also postponed Sunday's game, today's game. So there was no Saturday, no Sunday game. And again, for COVID concerns, to run tests, to do contact tracing and all that stuff, that's kind of seems in everyone's vernacular now when we talk about sports and COVID. How did you feel about the results of the test and just the whole COVID situation with this series?
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, it's definitely a big bummer. It's you think that we're close to getting over the kind of the COVID hump, and you think that I think going into the regular season, players were getting tested, and there was like a very few percentage of players that were testing positive all through spring training. Like, right. I don't think there was any teams over the course of spring training that really had any big outbreaks. And then kind of the season started with the Nats and the Mets, I think, having to postpone their series, which got off to a slow start. And then, so now this Twins kind of mini outbreak. So yeah, it just puts into perspective that we're not quite over this kind of COVID hump yet, as much as the games are going on and things are happening. So yeah, definitely pray for less of these things moving forward.
Yeah, because now you look at it, the Angels are going to have, because I don't know if they'll put, again, they didn't come out with what they're going to do with the Twins, when they're going to replay it or where exactly, but you already have a game to make up due to rain because of the Toronto/Florida series. So that's one doubleheader. And now if these next two games are on two separate days, now that's three doubleheaders in this season at some point. And, when we kind of mentioned it with the Angels' depth, that can be kind of a tricky situation. You probably want to keep guys off their feet a little bit more surrounding those games. But if you're in the race and it's kind of maybe later in the season, do you do that? Do you not do that? It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. And this kind of brings up a good, interesting point. And I don't know if I ever got your opinion on it, but the 7-inning rule that's back this year for double headers. Enjoy it, not enjoy it. I know there's been kind of a handful of those already in Major League Baseball this year.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, I think it makes sense. I mean, I think there's been enough of them now to where it's kind of it's been normalized. Previously with like the first couple versions, I would have been like, "Ooh, man, this team could have had two other innings to kind of come back or whatever." But for the sake of kind of like, not tiring out the players and kind of getting, making sure they're rested and can finish the season. I think a 7-inning game is fine. It's weird, and it's probably still getting some taking used to, but I think it makes sense just logistically. So
yeah, definitely a sprint too. It just feels like if you're not tied or in the lead by that like fifth inning, it's like that's the equivalent of the eighth inning. It's just your chances are really running out really quickly. So something to watch out for. Again, they have not yet announced a date for those 2 makeup games with Toronto. We know, or not Toronto, sorry, Minnesota, the Twins. We do know there's going to be one later this year with Toronto when I believe when Toronto comes to Anaheim. So something to look out for. Like you mentioned, hopefully the outbreak is kind of contained in the Twins organization, and hopefully, I know the Angels they mentioned that we're going to have like a volunteer workout today at Angel Stadium Sunday, because also it was their test day. So the guys had to report to Angel Stadium to at least get the test done. Whether or not they worked out, there hasn't been reports about that, but hopefully, like I mentioned, it's contained until the Twins and the Angels don't have any of those kind of issues popping up with the upcoming series. And talking about the upcoming series, they are now going to welcome the Texas Rangers to Anaheim, for a 3-game set. Starters came out earlier today. Monday, you're going to have Bundy. Tuesday, the big return of Shohei Ohtani on the mound. And then Wednesday with Quintana on the mound against some, like I mentioned earlier, I'm really interested to see how he does. I think he's run into a lot of bad luck in the last couple, or at least his last start for sure. But Bundy, Ohtani, Quintana, I mean, you kind of hope at least those first 2 guys, you're able to get 2 out of 3 in this series easily.
Yeah. The Rangers, they're not a great team. And I think Quintana was slated to be the next starter in line. So it looks like they bumped
him and Cobb. Cobb was supposed to start Sunday, and he's probably going to pitch Thursday. And I think they're traveling to Houston for that series. So he might be getting that first start in Houston, but no official announcement yet.
So I like that they bumped Bundy up. That's nice. Ohtani pitching the second game. Great to see that he was able to ramp up his bullpen sessions and get to the point where he's able to kind of come back and start a game after having that blister issue, which is hopefully behind him at this point. And yeah, Quintana, you see his ERA there, 16.2. His last start, I think, was against the Blue Jays maybe in Florida. Was not good. You hope to see something better out of Quintana. The only thing that I worry about is with this 2-day layoff, the Angels were hot on Friday night. They were swinging it. They had a big win. Haney pitched really well. The whole team kind of played pretty well. So with that 2-game layoff, hopefully they're able to kind of pick it back up here starting tomorrow night with Bundy on the mound.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of hope that it helps the pitchers get a little bit extra rest. Obviously, they're going to have a fresh bullpen going into the Monday game, but you also kind of give a little, take a little. You also means that your lineup that's been producing really well when it's on like 80% capacity, without Rendon, has been on fire. So hopefully there's not too much of a letdown. I guess the good thing about it is that they're not like traveling. So, there's not, they can stay off their feet. They're not, going to Texas. And I think that's a big help also. But for the Angels to be considered a serious contender, you have to really take care of these lesser opponents. You have to take care of the Rangers and teams like that, where they're not expected to compete, and you don't let them kind of just hang around. Because at the end of the year, honestly, whoever wins the American League West, you could probably look at how they do against these lesser, the Rangers and stuff like that. And whoever has the best record against like the Rangers is probably going to be the team that wins the division, just because that's normally what it comes down to, is how you play against these lesser teams. So Angels have their first shot at Texas Monday, like I mentioned earlier. So we are going to take a quick break. And then after the break, we are going to talk a little baseball top 10. So we'll be right back after this. And we are back. And again, I am joined by Mike Browne of the Big League Chewing podcast. We talked a little bit on the front end of the podcast about the Angels, the 1-game series against the Twins. And I wanted to bring Mike on too, because not only is he an Angel fan, but he's just a baseball fan in general. He does a really good job of following the other teams and being really informed about the other teams going on in baseball. And so I thought it was a good time to have like a top 10. For me, at least, it's right now. Obviously, this has a lot of potential to be moved up and down. There's some teams on that aren't going to be on this list that you would think are going to be in the playoff hunt come the end of the year. And there's probably some teams where they're on this list and maybe by July they're nowhere near this list. But it's just kind of fun to see where they're at right now. Who's hot? Who don't you want to play? I guess is the best way of putting it. So the top 10 list. And since Mike is the visitor, I'll let him go first. So his number 10 team, the Oakland A's.
Yeah. So with Oakland, the more I think about it, the more they probably would be higher up on this list. But they started off so badly
Yeah.
that it was kind of hard to put them any higher. But they've won 8 in a row now, and they've kind of played really well over the last week or so. Just goes. Enough said with them winning 8 games in a row. So I like Oakland. I like them kind of preseason as well, heading into the season. So, but yeah, with the streak that they've been on, kind of counteracting the kind of negative kind of start that they had, I have them as my number 10. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. So my number 10, and we'll get to kind of going back and forth a little bit once all the teams are out. So my number 10 is Atlanta. I know what their record is. I know how they're doing, but it's just, to me, it was hard for me not to put them on the list because not only what the team can do, but Acuna is just absolutely killing it right now. But I just feel like they're kind of like the A's in a way where it's like once they get it going, would it surprise anyone if they win 7, 8 in a row? No. So I just could not keep them off the list, even though it's 10. I'm sure by the end of the year, like we mentioned, they're probably gonna be higher up on the list. But as of right now, I got to put them 10, and I kind of have to put them there kind of like, part of it is off of reputation. I know I'm not supposed to, but it was hard for me not to. So Mike's number 9, Tampa Bay Rays.
Tampa. So they, I think they swept they swept the Yankees this weekend. Which is part of the reason why I have them at number 9. I think that was kind of a big early season statement series. This team lost Blake Snell, they lost Charlie Morton, and they have I think we've talked about this before on the podcast. I think maybe you brought it up, but they're kind of the Oakland A's of the AL East, where it's like,
how
you don't really know how they do it, but they do it somehow. And Tyler Glasnow is like a certified ace. He pitched really well yesterday. And are they, let's see. So I have the Rays as my number 9 team. They're at 500 right now, but I think with this series against the Yankees, I think there's better things to come. And I think they're going to move up this list pretty soon.
Yeah, the last place New York Yankees, who would have thought?
Yeah, 5 and 10.
So number 9 for me is the Angels. Obviously, this team for me is real hard because you see the glimpse of Upton coming back and how that lineup is producing. Now, with the information that came out today with Ohtani and stuff like that, if he's on, Tuesday like he was before, and you see that splitter and you see that fastball, and he doesn't have the blister issue, and he comes out and puts a dominant performance out, it's going to raise, obviously, but with Rendon, not sure about what's going to happen with Rendon, if he's going to come back right away or not. Again, Quintana, Griffin Canning, kind of still the question marks in the back end of that rotation. But like I said, if Ohtani produces and this offense stays hot, I think they will grow. But it's just some of the pitching is still kind of worrisome to me. And then with Rendon not necessarily knowing when he's going to be back, it's kind of, again, I feel like not too sure, but I feel comfortable at them at 9 just because I'm not trying not to be too much of a homer, but I think it's a lot better than we would have thought probably a couple years ago where this team was going to be for sure.
Agreed.
The number 8 team for you, Seattle Mariners.
The Mariners. So the Mariners have been hot. Last 10 games are 7-3. They started off a little shaky, but they've kind of picked it up a little bit here. And they're right now in first place in the AL West. So, my list is a mix of kind of, those that are kind of start getting off to a hot start and those that I think are good and will kind of continue to be good. But I don't see the Mariners keeping this up for the duration of the season. But for now, they're off to a hot start, and they're my number 8.
And then my number 8, Chicago White Sox. Obviously, we saw them in Anaheim opening weekend. Angels had a really well played series against them, took 2 out of 3, including opening day. I still think with their pitching, they're still going to be in a lot of games. I think that's going to help. I think too, the division probably helps them out a little bit. I don't think it's the strongest division. Obviously, you have the Indians we'll see what happens now with the Twins, how this COVID thing, that might help them out actually, because maybe now Twins have to bring a bunch of players up, and then they're going to start losing games. We'll see how that goes. But, I just think they're going to be there, and I still think with that pitching, they're always going to be in games. So number 7 now for Mike is the New York Mets.
The Mets. So the Mets, they were one of these teams that obviously started the season a little delayed because of the Nats COVID situation. But they started the season 7-4. I think this team has a lot of potential. I think they're probably going to be hovering around.
Oh, Mike, I think you froze. Either you froze or I froze. I am not too sure. So, he had the Mets, and I am not sure what happened here. Let's see if we get him back. He texts me. He says the power just went out. So we will try to bring him back in a little bit. If not, I'll continue this conversation. But hey, live podcasting, nothing like it. So my 7th team was also the Mets, or as DeGrom, the DeGroms, because it seems like he's the main guy with the pitching. Continue his pitching, continuing just dominating. When they're able to give him any kind of run support, it helps. Obviously he's been the guy that, if you look at some of his records with 2 or less run support, it's bad. Like, he's not winning a lot of games, but when they score like 3 or more games, he's winning a ton. So I like the Mets. I like their offense. Lindor obviously there. Stroman, is turning out to be a really good pickup for them, pitching wise. Again, his 2nd year in New York. But yeah, I really like the Mets. We'll see how it goes. I'm not sure if they're able to hold on to it. I think the Nationals are better than what they've been. Obviously, like I mentioned, the Braves earlier, I think they will be up there by the end of the season. That's just something that will be interesting to see. So as we wait for Mike to jump on, again, he powered out. Oh, and I think he is back. Hey, okay. We got you back. Nothing like live podcasting. Yep. It's all good. Don't even worry about it. So my 7th team was also the Mets, and I was just kind of talking about DeGrom and how he's been dominant. And then if they're able to get him any kind of run support, he's putting up wins on the board. And it's just unfortunate when he goes, 8 innings, 1 earned run, and then they lose like 0-1 or something like that. It's just, to me, that's like the Mike Trout version of pitching, if you want to kind of put it that way.
Totally.
So now Mike's 6th team is the Angels.
Yeah, so off to a really good start. I might be a little biased here, but the Angels have been playing really well. Currently in 2nd place. We had 1st place for about a game and a half. So yeah, I love how this team is right now. I feel like they're a different team than we've seen over the last 4 or 5 seasons. They just have a different feel, a different kind of swagger to them. Ohtani being healthy definitely makes a difference. And yeah, I expect the Angels to maybe around the 8 or the 9 seed or kind of power rankings for the rest of the season, maybe hovering around 10 or 11. But I think for now, I like them in the middle of this list. Yeah.
And then my number 6 team is the Tampa Bay Rays. Kind of like what you're mentioning, they're going to be like the A's. They're going to do what they're going to do. They swept, the New York Yankees. Glasnow is now, I feel like, kind of making that turn to being that frontline ace type of starter, where that's what Blake Snell was for them, last year and the year before. But I think he's going to be that guy now. And I think they're just going to be able to piece it together like they always have. They're not going to have huge names. That's never what they're going to do. But they're still going to play really good baseball, and they're still going to win games, and kind of proved it this weekend with a sweep of the New York Yankees. So number 5 for Mike is the Milwaukee Brewers. Oh, I think he froze again. I think he's having, or is it? I think it might have froze again on Mike because he is frozen again. Yep, he just dropped out. So we will get him back in a second. But he has the Milwaukee Brewers as the number 5 team. And then we will wait for him to jump back on. Thank you, Bradley. I know we're going through a little technical difficulties right now, but we appreciate you hanging on. Hopefully Mike comes back in a second and we can continue this because I actually like his list a lot. Have some questions, and that's what we're going to try to do at the end of it is kind of question back and forth about here and there. So we will see, but hopefully he comes back on. And we're back again. There we go. So I put your 5th as the Brewers, and go ahead and tell me why.
Yeah, so the Brewers, to me, look really good right now. They have they're up there in run differential, so they're plus 14 in run differential, which means they're winning games kind of pretty convincingly. Just to compare, the Angels right now have a run differential of plus 3. So you can tell that the Brewers have been winning games and winning games pretty big. They're only 8-7. They're still a game back behind Cincinnati. But Corbin Burns, who's one of their pitchers, has pitched really well. Woodruff has pitched really well. So yeah, this is a team that I think was my favorite to win the NL Central before the season started, and I like them a lot right now.
Yeah, they have. Like you mentioned, their pitching is doing a lot better than I thought they would be doing this time, or around this time last year. My number 5 is the Oakland A's. Again, a team that is just on fire. And kind of like how I mentioned it before, a team that I would not want to see right now is the Oakland A's. They just seem to be now clicking and getting everything going. So, luckily I don't think the Angels playing for a while. I kind of knew this too, because when they got off to that super slow start against Houston, I kind of thought like, I wish they were coming now, into town now, because by the time the Angels see them, they're going to figure it out. They're too good of a team with too good of players to not at least be competitive. And that's kind of what they're proving now. You win that many games in a row, you're able to, work your way back into the division talk. I think, shows how good they're playing right now. So number 4 for you, the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, so the Reds, last 10 games are actually 5-5, but they're still 9-6, and they have I think it's the 3rd highest run differential in baseball right now at plus 24. So they've been winning games pretty convincingly. They're 9-6 right now. They're atop the NL Central. They just got Sonny Gray back. Nicholas Castellanos got off to a really good start for them. So yeah, this is a team that I thought would be kind of middle of the pack in that division, kind of after losing, Raisel Iglesias, losing Trevor Bauer. But yeah, they're definitely surprising me, and they've come out really hot. So that's kind of why they're high up for me.
And then for me, also Cincinnati at 4. You kind of mentioned they're getting Sonny Gray back. I kind of am upset that they're doing so well, because I was really hoping that they would struggle, because I was really hoping that the Angels would make a play for like Sonny Gray at the trade deadline. But obviously, if the Reds are going to be this competitive all year long, that's probably not going to be an option. But the offense has been mashing, and whenever you can mash in that kind of a ballpark where it is very, very hitter friendly, you're going to win a lot of games, even if your pitching isn't great. But their pitching is good. That's the thing. It's like, yeah, they can mash, but their pitching is also backing them up. So a team that I'm not sure is going to sit here for the long term, because sometimes hitting comes and goes, and we'll see how that plays out for the Reds. But as of right now, a team that's really hot, and with their offensive firepower, I would not want to see them in the other team's batter's box. Number 3 for you, the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, so the Dodgers just took 2 out of 3 from the Padres this weekend, but the games were all really close. And before the Dodgers came to town, the Padres had been quite good. So the Padres are 10-7 right now. They have a plus 13 run differential, which is pretty good. Tatis Jr. is back. We'll see how long he's able to stay healthy for. Snell has pitched pretty well. Darvish has pitched pretty well. Joe Musgrove threw the no-hitter last week. So this team has kind of charged out of the gates really quickly. The Dodgers are still better, and I think the Dodgers showed that over this weekend series that they're still the team to beat. But Padres are definitely look really good.
Yeah, definitely. And I watched that game today. It was a really good played game today on Sunday. Number 3 for me, the Red Sox. Never thought I'd be saying that. Red Sox again are on fire. Again, offensively, they're just putting it out there. I don't know how they're doing it pitching wise. I mean, they don't have Chris Sale. I mean, they don't have like a huge name pitching wise, but their offense is doing good. You got Verdugo out there. You got guys that are contributing, and it just seems like after, again, kind of like the A's, they got off to that really slow start. They got swept by Baltimore, and then it just seems since then they've been clicking on all cylinders and been able to put game after game after game together and shoot up that standings in the NL East or AL East. And again, a team that's really hot. I don't know if their pitching is going to be able to sustain this all year long. Again, a team that's I'm not sure is going to be here if we do this next month. Right. I'm not sure if they're going to be here or even definitely not this high. But as of right now, this team is playing really well, and it's surprised me a ton. So, and then your number 2, because I saw this list before anyone, is also the Red Sox.
Yeah. So just a lot of the things you were saying, I was really nervous and kind of was like, oh yeah, this is how the Red Sox are when they lost to the Orioles to kind of start the season. But yeah, they've been getting a lot of good production kind of out of their normal guys that you would, their lineup is still really deep, even though Mookie Betts is not there. You still have guys like Devers, Bogarts, Alex Verdugo has played pretty well.
Martinez has been doing really well too.
Yeah, JD Martinez has been hot. They have a plus 21 run differential, which is like top 3, I think, in all of baseball. So they've been scoring a bunch and winning pretty big. And yeah, up until 2 or 3 nights ago, they had a 8 or 9 game winning streak. So yeah, hot out of the gates, but yeah, definitely probably not sustainable. But for now, I have them pretty high up here.
And then my number 2 is San Diego. Obviously, they play the Dodgers this week. They are going to play again next weekend too, so they're going to see each other quite a bit for the next 7 days. But kind of like you mentioned, Friday's game went to extra innings. I think it kind of got away with them just because the lack of pitch, the bullpen was pretty much all spent. I think that game could have went either way. Then obviously Saturday night's game, Darvish had a great pitching performance. So did Kershaw. A great play by Bet in the outfield. If that's any other team, that probably falls and they get a couple runs and it's all tied up. But I think the biggest thing with me is that they play the Dodgers really well, and I just think the Dodgers are going to be so far ahead of everybody else that just playing them well kind of solidifies for me that they're that second team. And kind of like you mentioned, if Musgrove and Yu Darvish and Snell can be the top 3 guys that a lot of people think they can be, then this team will go really far, and they're obviously going to end up playing the Dodgers at some point in the playoffs, you would think. So obviously there's one spot left, and I think we both know who we picked, and obviously that would be the Dodgers. Unfortunately, as a bunch of Angel fans, but I mean, you kind of have to respect what they've been doing so far this season. They've been able to play again tough teams like San Diego and playing them really well and winning 2 out of 3 down in San Diego. So what is it about the Dodgers for you that makes them the top team right now?
Yeah, one of the things that stood out to me the other night was, I think it was the first game, but yeah, it was Friday night, first game of the series against the Padres, and it went to extra innings. And David Price came in at in the 10th or the 11th inning, and it's just like, wow, that really shows just kind of like how deep the Dodgers are when David Price is coming in an extra inning game out of the bullpen.
Right. Yeah.
So the depth is incredible. Cody Bellinger has been out, I guess, since early April. I didn't even know that the team is so deep. Mookie Betts just slides right over to center field. They have AJ Pollock out there, who's not great, but he's a nice piece. And yeah, they got this guy, Zach McKinstry now, who's just kind of another Dodger guy. Another Dodger guy
that they somehow develop in the farm system that I'm like trying to figure out, how do we do that? How do the Angels able to just like, oh, we have an injury at third or second. I just pull up that kid that no one knows about. Oh, look, he's a legit major league player.
He's legit. Yeah, I know. It's really frustrating. It just shows that the Dodgers have built a sustained a franchise that's sustained for success for a long time, and that just goes from top to bottom. So, yeah, Dodgers are the obvious kind of number one pick here.
Yeah, like I said, it sucks as Angel fans to say that, but you see what their run. You're talking about run differential with a lot of these different teams, and then you look at the Dodgers run differential, and we're saying like, oh, 11's good. Oh, 20's great. I think Dodgers run differential now. I know it probably changed because of tonight's game, but it was like up in it was like 41 at one point. I think going into today's game, it was like a 40 plus 41 run differential. Now it's at like 30, probably like a 39, 38 because of the loss. Yeah. But just the fact that you're putting up major points and it's not even close. They're beating the teams they need to beat and beating them by a lot. You're beating the teams like San Diego. You're taking 2 or 3, which you need to do against good teams. Like we talk about that all the time with the Angels. You take 2 or 3, you're going to win a lot of series. You're going to win a lot of games, and you're going to be up there. So that's our top 10. Your first thoughts, again, like you mentioned, I seen the list before we put it out. You didn't see my top 10, but now that you see it, any thoughts?
Yeah, I almost had the Braves entering this top 10. I think maybe the Mariners might be a little high on my list, but they've just been kind of playing better than I had ever predicted going into it. And one team that I definitely missed was the Royals, who obviously Angel fans.
Yeah, that was close. I was close with them too.
Have been pretty good. They're 9-5 right now. They're on a 2-game win streak. I think they beat up on the Blue Jays this weekend. So they're definitely a team that has put together kind of a sneaky good lineup. They got a lot of young pitching coming through the system. They have one of the young, talented prospects in all of baseball, Bobby Witt Jr., who's probably going to debut maybe next season or late this season. But
I think we lost.
They're definitely off to a good start. Sorry. Yeah,
no, you're good now.
The Royals just narrowly missed my list.
Yeah, and I saw the Mariners. I was thinking about the Mariners. I wasn't, if I put the Mariners in, I'm going to have 3 teams in the AL West, and that's not even including the Astros. I'm just like, I'm not sold on the Mariners yet. A good test will be coming up. I know the Dodgers are heading up there for 2 games, I believe Monday, Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And honestly, depending on what the Mariners do there, that will prove a lot to me one way or the other. If this team is going to be legit, and like kind of like I was thinking with San Diego, like you don't necessarily need to beat them, but if they can be close, like, and granted too, the Dodgers did kind of move stuff around to have Buehler, Kershaw, and Bauer pitch against San Diego. So obviously the Mariners aren't getting those guys, but still, you would think with the depth they have, I mean, that means they're getting like Destin May and Urias. So like those are no guys to be like, oh, easy. So we'll see how the Mariners do. That's one thing where it's like, I couldn't commit to putting them in there because I want to see kind of what the Dodgers do. And with the Brewers, I saw the run differential. I was like, oh my God, who they play? But when I saw that they played 2 series against the Cubs and a series against the Pirates, I was like, ooh, yeah, I need a little more diversity than their division because you're gonna have the Reds and you're probably gonna have the Brewers in there, but it just seems like the Brewers have played mostly Central Division opponents, and it's just like, and we all know how the Pirates are going to be, and it just looks like the Cubs are not going to be very good this year.
No, they're not. And yeah, I guess shifting to your list, I did like the Braves a lot. White Sox, I wanted to put them on there because I know they're good. But yeah, I couldn't bring myself to do that quite yet. Even though, they just had a no-hitter as well over the previous week. Carlos Rodon threw a no-hitter. So yeah, it's a really good team. But just right now, they're probably just outside the top 10 for me with the Royals. I actually probably like the Royals a little more now, but I think projecting for the full season, I think the White Sox are definitely a better team, but I probably have the Royals higher in my current power rankings.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something, again, too, that's going to be fun to do. Maybe like we'll do it again next month and then kind of see how everything kind of, shifts. Because obviously there's going to be shifts in this. Like I can't imagine the same top 10 is going to be the same top 10 for the whole year. So, as the months go on, you can kind of see it fluctuate up and down. I think that's the fun part. Obviously, it hasn't even really been a month yet, so a lot of stuff can happen. A lot of moving parts can happen. Not everyone's played everyone yet, so something to kind of keep an eye on. And I think it'd be a nice little fun thing to do, especially when you have an occasion like this where you're like, oh wow, look, they played one game this week. I have a lot of time to fill. What the hell do I do? Okay, let's just talk about the top 10. Good timing. So it all worked out. So that's our top 10. Again, I'll run Mike's down first from 10 to 1. His is the A's, the Rays, the Mariners, the Mets, the Angels, the Brewers, the Reds, the Padres, the Red Sox, and the Dodgers. And then mine from 10 to 1 is Atlanta, the Angels, White Sox, Mets, Rays, A's, Reds, Red Sox, Padres, and Dodgers. I will post this on our Halo Haven Instagram. Go ahead and leave a comment. Leave your top 10. Be really interested to see what you guys think. Leave it in the comments or email us at allangelspodcast@gmail.com, and we'll start throwing those up there throughout the next couple podcasts. So that's almost going to wrap it up for this edition of the All Angels podcast. I just wanted to give a quick update. Obviously, if you know, we are collecting strikeouts, I guess, strikeout for Tyler Skaggs Foundation. I still have yet to figure out a creative name for this, but if you followed us along last year, we did, a strikeout per $1 per strikeout last year. And so this year we're doing Andrew Heaney and Chris Rodriguez, and then Felix Pena when he comes back again, hopefully soon. But right now, Andrew Heaney has 19 strikeouts. Chris has 10. That's $29. Thank God it's low numbers because I can't add that much. So $29 as we stand right now. And, a couple games got shorted this weekend, so I'm sure they're going to make up for it because in that game Friday, Chris was warming up for the 9th inning, but, obviously they didn't go to him for whatever reason. So he could have added on there, but I'm sure you'll probably see Chris sometime during this upcoming series. Haney is not scheduled to pitch, so we'll probably see him in Texas. Or maybe even after Texas, depending on how they want to work that lineup. But again, that's $29 for the Tyler Skaggs Foundation so far. And if you want to donate to the foundation, $1, $5, whatever, go ahead and look at our link. Click on our link on our Twitter and our Instagram, and there is the link for that one for the Skaggs Foundation is right there, easy. And again, $1, $2, $3, anything helps. And right now with the baseball season starting for a lot of schools, high schools, little leagues and stuff like that, they're able now to do something they weren't able to do last year, and that's donate to these little league programs, to these high school programs that they weren't obviously able to do last year because of the COVID situation. So that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the All Angels podcast. Mike, thank you very much, and let them know about the Big League Chewing podcast.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at ChewingCast. I'm about to get started doing some team-by-team kind of recaps with a lot of bloggers and kind of locked-on podcast type guys to come out and talk about their team and kind of what they've seen the first couple of weeks of the season. So yeah, you can follow me at ChewingCast on Twitter, or you can listen to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
And we will make sure to put his Instagram link and Twitter link inside this bio for this podcast. So definitely check it out. So again, have a great weekend. We'll be back on Wednesday night to recap the Texas series and look ahead to the Houston series. So again, I'm Dallin Garcia. That's Mike Browne.